altura, depende de cómo llegaron esas gallinas ahí.
Well, good evening, Miss Cepeda, right?
Yes, good evening.
Okay, well, we're gonna start because thanks for
Bueno, me
being
apasiona el arte
punctual.
y la cultura y siento que visitar los museos es esencial para aprender un poco sobre.
Okay, tonight we're gonna study unit 3.
Sueño del artista
Es
Julio
the
Díaz, quien
next,
como parte de su trayectoria se
is
dedicó a
the
reunir
next,
estas obras que fueron creadas por artistas salvadoreños del siglo XX, como esta obra que representa a dos pescadores de la isla meanguera del Golfo de Fonseca.
okay, we're gonna start this unit, new week. This is unit 3, communication at workplace. And here we have a couple of parts. Okay, a really short conversation that we have here is more than conversation is let's say a couple of expressions. So we have here the first. Could you print out the budget file right away, Rita? Would you mind opening the window? Sure, no problem. So we have here two expressions that indicates what? What do you think that those expressions indicate? Or when can we use these kind of expressions? Do you understand this meaning? Yes or no? So. Oh, yes. Of course. Oh, no.
So, teacher.
So. Oh, okay. So we're gonna work with that. Don't worry. Okay, so in this case, we have could you, right? Could you. So in that case, we have for example, could you and would you. Would you mind? And could you mind? And could you. So in this case, it's are possibilities. It's a very polite way to ask something because it's very polite, okay? Very, let's say, nice, educated. It doesn't sound strong like you are giving a command. No, it's very relaxed, it's very polite. So could you, it's like podrías, okay? And would you mind? ¿Te importaría? Okay, so it's very polite in English and in Spanish, right? It's a good way to ask for a favor, for example, or even sometimes as a boss, give some instructions. Some bosses sometimes use those expressions because they are very, very polite. And they are nice, okay? They are nice as a boss. So they don't do, okay, Marlene, were you the person who were in the hospital, Marlene? Yes. Were you? Were you the person who was in the hospital last week? No. 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 Okay. I wanted to ask you, how are you now? Because I thought that it was you. Someone wrote me telling me that was in the hospital. So when I read your name, Marlene, rings a bell for me. Me sonó. Oh, but it's not you. Okay, it's not you. Good for you, right? That you were not in the hospital. Okay. I'm happy that you were not in the hospital. Okay, but let's continue. So in this case, for example, if you are a boss, right, you can be nice and say, could you print out, could you call the customers during the morning? Could you give these copies to the secretary? Could you send an email for me? Could you, I don't know, right? Many things. Maybe it's an instruction, but it's a very polite way to say to someone to do something. No, Marlene, call the customer. Marlene, send this email. Marlene, take the copies. No, right? It is a little bit more rude. Of course, that it depends on the intonation too, but definitely if we use any of these expressions, could you or would you mind, they are very, very nice, okay? Very polite. And people feel better. We feel better, right? We feel better.
Okay.
Podrías, yes?
Teacher, y could you es como que podrías tú hacer alguna acción o alguna cosa que yo le esté pidiendo a alguien.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
That's the way that we can do it in a nice way, right? Very nice. Muy amablemente. Correct.
Okay.
Very nice way. And it is exactly what you say. And would you mind is something similar. But in this case, it's a little bit more educated, more formal. It's similar to te importaría, right? Te importaría hacer este reporte por mí. ¿Te importaría llamar a los clientes because I'm very busy, you know. Or could you, let's say, receive the clients because I'm still in the meeting. Okay, so could you or would you mind? The second is, as you can listen, is even more polite. It's very formal. Would you mind? So it's a good expression to use in the office, to use in, you know, I don't know, when you are in a meeting with strange people. It's very polite. It's very educated. So those are the two expressions that we're gonna work tonight. So we have here, could you and would you, but we're gonna notice something. Look, after this expression, look at the verb. This is very, very important because we're gonna use the verb with ing always. Okay, would you mind opening the window? Would you mind calling? And in this case, it's not ando, right? It's not ando. It's te importaría abrir, no abriendo, right? But it's like the rule of the prepositions, that after a preposition, for working, we use the verb with ing. It's similar to that rule. Okay, I need time for working tonight, but I won't say para trabajando. Para trabajar, right? It's just a rule that we use because after the preposition, we use ing. Okay, so here is something similar because we need to use the verb with ing. Okay. Okay, so in that case, this is the only thing that we have to be alert, that we need to use the verb with ing. And it doesn't mean ando, right, in Spanish, no. But that's the rule. In this case, you can see that no is not the same. Could you print out? Could you call? Could you give me? Could you send? Could you come? The verb in the base form. Okay, no with ing. That's the difference. That is the difference. And that this is more polite. This is more formal. This is formal too. The informal way is can you? Can you? Or maybe like print it out. Call the customers, please. Send me the emails. That is the less formal. Okay, and can you? But those two are formal, and this is even the most formal. Okay, so let's continue. Let's move here. So look, it says, use request. Okay, we use could and would to make a request. Do you know the meaning of request? Do you know what this is? What does it mean? Request? What does request mean? Do you remember the meaning of request? No.
No.
Okay. Request is like petition. It's like petition. When you want something, okay, you want that someone gives you something. Or do a favor, do an activity. Okay, for example, my request, I have a request, tell me, I need that you give me back the money because this blouse has, let's say, has a problem here, a detail, look. So this is not a good product. So I have a request. Give me back the money. Or can be a request. Another request can be like, can you help me? Can you help me to buy these cell phones, for example? Can you help me? So this is a request, okay? Una petición, a request.
Okay.
So we use that for request. Okay, so that's the idea, that you need to use a request. Okay, when you need to do a request, so it means a petition, we need to use this structure. Could you or would you mind? Because you want something.
Un
Yes.
ejemplo is request a new computer. Please.
Can be a request. You can request a new computer to your boss.
Okay.
That is a request that you have. In what way can you do that request? Could you buy a new computer for my desk? Could you buy a new computer for me? To your boss, right? Because it doesn't work. When I turn on I have to turn it on half an hour, 1 hour before, because it's really slowly. Okay, sometimes I have ready the document and suddenly it is erased. Se me borra. So many problems with the computer. So that's a request. That's correct. That's a good example. You can have, but the request is the new computer. The way to do that request is using, could you buy a new computer for me? Or would you mind, very, very polite, would you mind buying a new computer for my desk? In case that you are in the office, right? If you are maybe at home, you can ask your mother, your dad, your husband, would you mind buying a new computer? It doesn't work anymore. This computer doesn't work. But that's the way to do a request. That could be a request. Correct? You're right. Okay, so that is the idea of the request. Use request as a noun. Noun, something asked for. My boss usually has many requests for me. So he's always asking for this, that, do this, do that. Those are requests. Okay, petitions. Is that clear?
Okay.
Yes, it's clear. Okay, good, great. So now think of 5 requests you need to ask in your workplace. As you said, right? There you got the first. So, but let's do it with a structure. With the structure that I explained. Do the request. 5, or maybe at least 3. Think about 3 requests that you need in your office. Maybe a new computer. I don't know. It depends on your office. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 5 minutes maybe to think about requests. Okay, think about 5 or at least 3 requests. Do the sentence, please. Let me take the time. If you're ready before the 5 minutes, tell me, please. Tell me the request that you have.
Teacher,
Tell me.
y usen cool y la otra que dijo.
Yes. Maybe you can mix both. Both. In both options. Maybe one and one. It's not necessary that the same. Maybe one and one. One with option 1 and one with option 2.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what you have. Anybody who wants to share the request? One request that you have in your office.
Could you bring me a good, no, perdón. Could you repair my computer, please?
Okay. Could you repair my computer, please? Could you repair my computer, please? Okay, I see that you have problems in the office with your computer, Marlene. You are worried about the computer.
Yes.
Is the second sentence talking about the computer? Okay.
I new
Okay.
computer, please.
You need a new computer, please. Yeah, I see that you need a new computer in the office. Okay, it's an emergency. Correct. So could you buy a new computer, please? No, could you repair? You say, right? Could you repair a new computer? And the second option?
Could you do the report for me?
Could you do?
No.
Could you do the report or the second option?
Es Google.
Would.
Would do you the report for me?
But in that case, is would you mind? Would you mind? Remember the second option? Would you mind? Right? You use the first.
Would you mind? Okay.
Would you?
Would you mind? Okay.
That's what I explained. Do you remember? About the verb? Yes, right? So tell me.
Is report for me. They report for me.
Yeah, but tell me the full sentence, please. Would you mind?
Would you mind? They report for me.
But the verb, would you mind the report? And what is the verb? Would you mind?
Would you mind report for me?
Doing. Would you mind doing the report for me? Or would you mind sending the report for me? But if you just said, would you mind the report? You don't have action. You are saying this. Would you mind the report? The report is the noun, but you don't have the verb there. Would you mind the report?
Me falta el verbo.
Yes.
Okay.
So it can be, would you mind doing? Would you mind sending? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Thanks, Marlene. Anybody else? Who wants to do, who wants to share the request that you have in the office, in your offices? Or any question that you have? Okay, remember that I said that those are two options that we have. Those are formal, both are formal, but this is even more formal. This is very formal, right? And they are similar in the use of request, but in this case, we use with could, we use the verb in the base form, and would you mind, we use the verb with ing. And again, it doesn't mean and end, right? No, it's just a rule. Like the ones that we learned that after a preposition, we use ing in the verb. So this is similar. After this expression, after this, we use the verb with ing. So would you mind opening the meeting for me? Would you mind calling the customers? Would you mind bringing the sodas for the clients? Would you mind, etc., right? Would you mind cleaning my desk? Oh, no, no problem. Another way to say it is, could you clean my desk? Could you bring the soda for the clients, for the customers? Okay, so those are the two ways that we have to do a request. But that's the point, right? That we need to be careful with the use of the verb. So that's what we need to see here. Look. Could and would you mind? To ask polite request. Could you call me later? Sure. Could you make 10 copies on this paper right away? Could you contact the tech support? No problem. Those are requests. So I was telling that in this case is very polite and formal, because I can say, can you? Or can I say, call me later? And if you don't want to be sound a little bit rude, you can say, Call me later, please. With please, right? We can make the difference using please at the beginning or at the end. Call me later, please. Please call me later. And then intonation, right? Because if we say call me later, it's like very strong, very rude, because that way is a command. So this is the best way. If we want to be polite, this is the best way. Okay, using this and formal. They are fairly formal. On the other hand, we have option 2, more examples. Would you mind calling? But you see, that's what I was explaining. Always with ing. Would you mind getting? Would you mind sending? Ing, right? You see here, we are adding the ing to the verb. Because we have mind. So would you mind calling, getting, sending, giving, bringing, etc. That is the difference. One is the verb in the basic form, and the other is the verb using ing. Okay. And we have here answers to requests with could you are not normally yes, I could, yes, I can. The expect answers are the actions that are requested, or short answers like ones in the examples about. Okay, so it sounds very, very formal, like robots. If you said, could you call me later? I could. Maybe, right? Maybe. But sounds more natural if you say something else. It is possible to say, I could. No, I couldn't. I would. It's not incorrect, but doesn't sound natural. So you see the options are sure, right away. Oh, no problem. My pleasure. Okay. Right now. So because we're gonna do the action. For example, could you call me later? No problem, sure. So that's what they are telling us here, right? And most of the time we use this kind of answer. It's possible to say yes, no, yes. If it is possible, because we don't have W words. So it's possible to answer yes or no. But the most natural answer is not to say yes, I could, no, I couldn't. Is to use any other response. Okay? Would you mind calling the plant manager right away? In this moment. Oh, no problem. Different possibilities. In a minute. Would you mind getting an appointment with the human resources for me? In a minute. Okay? Would you mind sending this box to the cleaning department? In this case, saying, right? Right now, right away. Immediately, don't worry. In this moment, no problem. Sure. Give me a second. Okay? That's what they are telling us here. Okay. I don't know if you are in the customer service area, or department, but if you have some relation, maybe with customers or maybe with the rest of co-workers, I don't know. what are the most common requests that you listen in your workplace? It depends, right? It depends. Can you send, could you send these mails? Would you mind sending this mail? Maybe, right? If you're an administrative or a secretary, or maybe you have that contact with customers. That's a common request, an everyday request in your office. Or maybe, can you send this, could you, or would you mind sending these boxes to the seller? Okay, envíelos a bodega. ¿Le importa enviarlos? Podría enviar a bodega? Because I don't know, right? As I said, it depends on your workplace. But those are examples. Let's do at least 3. At least 3. Okay, so I'm gonna give you again 3 minutes. 3 minutes to think about. Think about. Now are not your request. Now are common requests in your office that you listen or that someone tells you. Of course, that the idea is to use the structure, right? This simple structure. Can be right. Could you organize the meeting? Would you mind interviewing these people? Okay, would you mind interviewing these people? If you are in human resources, for example. Let me know if you're ready before the time. If you have the request that are often in your office.
Good evening, Miss.
Good evening, sir. Okay, ready?
Ready.
Okay, go ahead, please. What are the common requests that you listen in the office?
Send coffee samples.
Send?
Coffee samples.
Okay, but can you tell me the structure, please? Could you use the structure?
Okay. Could you send coffee samples to Japan, please?
Okay, the second option.
Would you mind sending coffee samples to Japan, please?
Okay. Excellent. One more request.
One more. Could you sell organic fertilizer
Sell or send?
or sell?
Okay, sell.
Organic
Okay.
fertilizer.
The second option.
Would you mind selling organic fertilizer?
Okay, that's correct.
Okay.
Thanks. Anybody else? And you see, it sounds very polite, right? Very educated. Okay, that sounds like a professional, like an executive. Someone very professional, right? When someone's speaking that way. So that's why this language is for work. You know, that's why we have English for work. Because they are formal. Yeah, maybe in the daily life we won't use because it's formal. But in an office, if you are with customer, if you are with some important businessmen, you know, and I don't know, people who organizers, I don't know, it's good to be serious, right? And polite, to sound formal. So it's very, very important to manage these forms, because you won't say, send me the fertilizer, the organic fertilizers. Sounds like a little bit rude, right? So the other person will say, what's going on with this woman? Okay, is she my boss? Okay, and maybe you don't even know her or know him. So maybe the people can feel a little bit strong, right? But if we use this way, sounds a very educated person, a very nice person, because you are making trying to make relationship with someone that you don't even know. Okay, that's why. Okay, another example. No more examples. Don't you have requests in your offices?
Would you mean calling your boss, please?
Okay, would you mind calling your boss? Okay, that it's polite, but maybe it's not good, right? If someone wants to talk with your boss, it's not good. Okay, maybe they have a request. Okay, okay, but that's a good one. Would you mind calling your boss? Okay, maybe a customer who is not happy with the service can ask you that, right? Would you mind calling your boss? Okay, man, would you mind calling your boss? Yeah, because I have a request. And you can say, well, yes, of course, this right away, no problem. But it's not good, right? Okay, good example. Mine, the pronunciation is would. We don't pronounce L. Wool, no.
Wool.
Would. Yes, correct. And mine. Okay?
My, good my.
Would
Would you mind?
would you, but the pronunciation is would you? Would you?
Would you
Would
mind?
you mind?
Would you mind?
Would you mind?
Would you mind calling your
Okay,
boss?
there we are. Would you mind calling your boss, please, in this moment? Okay, so here we have more examples. For the people who just arrived, if you don't have previous knowledge about this structure, we are talking about polite way to do a request, you know, petitions, requests at work, especially at work, right, in that environment. So I was explaining about these two one. Could you and would you mind? The difference is that in this case, would you, we need to use the verb with ing. After mind, verb with ing. Would you mind? That's why you listen to your classmates. Would you mind sending? Would you mind calling? Okay, would you mind giving? And the other is could you? And the pronunciation is could you? It's like we put together. When you have could and you, it's like you omit the D. Could you? Could you? And the same with would you? Would you? Okay, we can omit the D, would, but if you pronounce the full word, it's not would. We don't pronounce the L is mute. The L is mute. So we said would. Okay? But if it is together in the question with you, it's better would you. No would you. It's possible, but sounds better the short form. Would you? Would you? Could you? Could you? Okay? And those are that we are studying. I'm gonna show you some extra examples here. Okay, we have here mine and could. So what is the form that I need? Can anybody read for me, please, the full sentence?
Would you mind sending a letter for me?
Correct. Would you mind sending
Would you mind sending?
a letter for me?
Sending.
So you see, because we have mine here, and the pronunciation would you. So that's what I'm telling you. We don't pronounce the L. Would you, but it's better would you. Would you. Those two together. Would you mind sending a letter for me? Okay, and it's important. Intonation is important in English. Okay, correct. Let me see the next. Next.
Would you mind pacing me to serve?
Correct.
My patient.
Passing.
Passing.
The self.
Correct. Would you mind passing me the salt? You see, we start at work, right? We started at work because that's the topic for you. That's the topic for you, work. So we were practicing at the beginning expressions at work, right? Request that you do or request that you listen at work. But of course, that this structure, we focus at work because this is English for work, right? But we will use these expressions for any situation, right? Maybe in a hotel, if you want a service, and if you are polite with the person, maybe in a restaurant, maybe even at home, right? Or maybe with some relatives. Would you mind passing me the salt? It's formal, as I said. But maybe you have a serious aunt or a serious uncle or a serious grandma or grandpa. So you can talk to them in this way. Hey, grandma, would you mind passing me the salt? No, you stand up and take it, will say your grandma. But, oh yes, here you have, honey.
I'm sorry, Miss. The use,
Yes,
the difference in the use would you, it called you, is difference the verb M-E-A-N-G.
Yes, it's a question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want a question, is it? Okay, yes, it is. It's different, the verb, because the verb is with mine, would you mind? We use it with ing, and with could you, the base form. Could you pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? Pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? But in this case, would you mind passing me the salt? So the verb is different. Because of mine, I was mentioning that it's like the rule that we learned the last week before prepositions, after prepositions, that after prepositions, we use the verb with ing. It's similar, right? That in the sense that it's a rule. But, and in the sense that it doesn't mean ando. In this case is, ¿le importaría? ¿Te importaría pasarme, right, la sal? Nada que ver con ando. Pasándome la sal, no, right? So that's not the idea to use ando. It's just a rule that after mine, we use ing. And after could, no. Could you pass me the salt? Could you open the window, please? Or would you mind opening the window? It's so hot. Would you mind opening the window, please? Or can you open the window? And the difference is that would you mind is more formal than could you. Both are polite, both. But this is more formal, fairly formal.
Okay, thanks, Miss.
Okay.
Carla, would you mind opening up to
Luggage.
ledgers? I need to look inside.
Correct. Carla, would you mind opening up your luggage? I need to look inside. Well, that's a very polite way to ask this, right? Because I think it's something And it's not something, the action is not really polite, but you see a very polite way to ask by imagine opening up your luggage. I need to look inside. Well, doesn't sound good, right? But it's a very polite way to ask. In this case.
Would you make a dinner, please?
Correct, because in this case, we don't have mine. We can use would without mine, and it's a little bit less formal. So if we don't have mine, because as I said, mine is the word that makes us use ing in the verb. But in this case, we don't have mine, so we use the verb as in could in the basic form. Would you make dinner, please? Would you make dinner? In this case, it's a possibility. It's always an indirect request. Another option, another way, but less formal. In this case, is would you make dinner? ¿Harías la cena? The other, ¿te importaría hacer la cena? The other, ¿podrías hacer la cena? You see, a different way. They are similar, but some of them are a little bit more, let's say, soft, soft and gentle way to ask, to do a request, but they are similar. So if we omit mine, we omit the ing. And it keeps like a possibility, but the pronunciation is the same. Would you? Would you make dinner?
Would you make dinner?
Would you make dinner, please?
Correct.
Would you make touring?
Correct. Would you mind
Of the
volume? Would you mind turning up the volume? I can't hear anything. And the answer, no, not at all.
No.
Yeah, it's nothing, right? No, para nada. No, not at all. And in this case, it's convenient to use the join in the pronunciation, as I always recommend you, right? Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. No, right? We sound like robots. We separate. So you see, that's why it's important that we get familiar joining pronunciation when it is possible. Because in this case, will be no, not at all. No, not at all. No, not at all.
Not at all.
Okay, so in this
No,
case, this is another option to answer, right? You see, that is the natural way to answer. As the book says at the beginning, it's not, and I read that is not very common. It's not the most natural to answer, yes, I would, no, I wouldn't. No, it's better to answer in this way. Even when we can answer yes or no, because it's a yes-no answer, is possible. But it's better to use another type of answers. One more?
Would you mind postponing the exam?
Postponing the exam, correct. Would you mind postponing the exam?
Would you pay the bill?
Would you pay?
Correct. Could you pay the bill, please? Would you pay the bill, please? Okay. Could you pay the bill, please? Would you mind paying the bill, please? Okay. Or sometimes when we use would you mind, is done. It please is done necessary. It is not even necessary because mine is very polite. So would you mind paying the bill? Could be, right? We can omit even please. But it comes natural. It comes natural, right? The complement, the additional form will be natural. What we are getting familiar are with the different structure to ask for a favor or a request Okay, something like that. But you will do this complement naturally.
Would you like play to soccer with us?
Say that again, please, sir.
Would you like play to soccer with us? With us?
No, really, something we have to do a correction there. Anybody else?
Would you like play to soccer with us?
No, we need a correction there too. Anybody else?
Would you like to play soccer with us?
Okay, correct. Would you like to? Because remember that after like, I've told you many times that after like, we need to use to. So we can say, would you like to play soccer with us? Or the second option, would you like playing soccer with us? Two options. In this case, I'm gonna try with playing, but I don't know if it take it, okay? But it would be correct. Would you like playing? So you after like, please remember that I said many times before, after like, the next verb has to be used option 1 with ing, or option 2, we need to use before the verb to. Would you like to play soccer with us? I'm gonna try this one. Let me see if it take it. If it take it, I mean correct. No, it doesn't take it correct, but it is possible, right? Remember that in this case, it is programmed, not with the two options. That's what I suppose that it wouldn't be correct in the game, but it's correct. You have the two options. Even though the most common is to play, to study, to, but like can be used with the next verb in ing, like playing, like studying, etc. Okay, so you see, would can be with different combinations. Here we have mine, with mine, would, without mine, and would with like. What is the difference? The difference is that you are telling te gustaría, something specific, right? Te gustaría, if you add would you like. Would you like coming to the party? Would you like to come to the party? Te gustaría. It's a specific verb that is very common. But you can say, would you come to the party? Vendrías. Okay. Would you go? Irías a la fiesta. It's similar, right? Like in Spanish, different ways to say the same. Or in that case, it's not, because would you mind going to the party? A menos que él esté como que sabe que no quiere ir y le está diciendo acompáñame, right? Because would you mind es como, ¿te importaría ir a la fiesta? Can you feel that difference? Because if you use in this case, would you mind going to the party? Es como que hace el esfuercito, right? And if you just say, would you like, es algo que vas a disfrutar. Would you come, es algo que vas a decidir, it's a possibility. But would you mind, we have that connotation, right? That can be something that te puede incomodar, o espero que no te incomode. Por eso es que es todavía más polite when we use mind. Okay, can you see the difference with the combination of would?
Yeah, it's more clear. It's more clear. Thanks, for example.
Okay, so you see, that's the idea, that we can combine. Yes, sir?
Es como que en español le digamos, por favorcito, como decimos así, algo así, más o menos. So soft.
Yeah, let's say that
Okay.
can be a little bit equivalent
Okay.
to that.
Okay.
Okay,
Same,
yes.
same.
That is a like okay, do the effort, okay, oh please. Okay, yeah, so could be. Okay, so that's what we have. Let's practice a little bit more here. Okay, here we have examples. In this case, we have another verb. Look, I'm presenting you the different possible combinations with would. Rather is like prefer. Okay, it's similar to prefer. Would you rather? But you see that we have the possibility again. But in this case, it's not like. And it's not the verb directly. Now we have another combination, but we can change it. Would you rather eat a meal of cow, tongue, or octopus? So we can change here, right? Would you mind eating? I think this is a good situation to use. Would you mind? Would you mind eating? Or would you like to eat? Would you eat? Puedo quitarle esto también. Would you eat? Or I can add, would you mind eating? So you see, it's the same. Would you rather give up your cell phone for a month? Okay. Or bathing for a month? So in this case, would you mind giving up? Would you give up directly? Would you rather have a personal maid or a personal chef? So would you have? Tendrías. Maybe would you mind? It's not convenient, right? ¿Te importaría tener una muchacha para ti, personal, right? Una servidumbre personal. So, ¿te importaría? It has, you see the difference? When we use would you mind, it's something more like, no te quiero molestar. That's a little bit different. And it's more formal. So in this case, I wouldn't use would you mind. I would use would you have because it's a possibility. Would you have a personal maid? Or would you like to have? Maybe too, right? ¿Te gustaría tener alguien que te sirva solo a ti? Would you like? So in this case, we can use two. Would you like? Would you rather? Would you have? But no, would you mind? I think it's not convenient in this case. Okay. In this case, yes, right? For example, if you are in the office, would you mind making a phone call? Would you mind making a phone call? Excuse me, for example, if you leave the office at 5 and it is 5 and your boss is very polite and he tells you, Rosita, would you mind making a phone call before you leave? No problem. Okay, so in that case, I think it's good to use would you mind because it's the time for you to leave. And if it is a person, I mean, your boss is a person who respects that situation, he will be polite. He will be nice at least, right? So it's convenient to say, would you mind? You see the difference? In the previous, I wouldn't use would you mind? But in this case, yes. In that situation that I'm telling you. Of course that you can say, could you make a phone call before you leave? Would you make a phone call for me? Before you leave, would you make a phone call for me? Please. Can be, right? So in that case, it's a possibility. Sometimes, because it's a polite way to ask, but we know that we have to do it, right? But at least the person is being respectful. At least. Even though you know that it's not a request because you have to do it anyway. But that is well, that's not a good example, right? Would you ask your ex or a total stranger for a favor? In this case, we can say, right, would you rather ask or would you like to ask? No, would you like in this case? No, right? Sounds strange. ¿Te gustaría preguntarle? No. Maybe le preguntarías. ¿Te importaría? Yes. Would you mind asking? Because of the situation. You see? Would you rather forget your partner's birthday or your anniversary every year? Could be, would you mind? No, would you like? I think in this situation is not good, would you like? Okay, so you see those are more examples. I wanted to do those examples so you can see the difference. Even though sometimes it's the same. Sometimes it's the same if you use would you and the verb. Would you mind? Would you like? Would you rather? Sometimes can be the same, no problem. But as in the examples that I gave you, you could notice that in some situations, one way sounds better than the other. I hope that you could perceive the difference. That when I told you, I wouldn't use would you mind here because it's not a request. Remember, would you mind is like cuando estás molestando en algún grado a alguien indirectamente, right? But would you es como una petición, no implica mucho que lo estés molestando. Would you like es una preferencia. Okay, so be careful because we can do different combinations, the would with different verbs, but it's good to recognize that sometimes it's better one than the other, but we're gonna decide that in the situations, okay, on the way, naturally, because we can imagine the different situations that we'll have. Okay? Well, that's what we have. Let me see if I have more examples for you. That's it. Okay, so now, if you don't have questions, no questions. And remember, I stopped in would because you can combine, as you see, you can combine would with more verbs. And could is more specific. Could you buy? Could you go? Could you tell me? Could you send it? Could you tell him? Could you call him? It's more specific. Okay, we don't have that variety of options, of combinations like in with, like we have with would. Okay, but always the other possibility is could. I don't know if you have any question. Okay, so here we have, would you like, more examples with like. In this case, the combination is with like. Would you like to go to the cinema? So you see, in this case, do you think, tell me, what are the other options that you have for that situation? Another way of those that we have been mentioning, another way that you think sounds good. And, well, first that. Another way that you would say that, would you like to go to the cinema?
It can be, would you rather to go to the cinema, or would you rather eat something? Is it right?
Okay, not really. Would you rather? Okay, would you rather go to the cinema? Could be, but the idea is not to change it. Not to change it. Would you like to go to eat something? No, it's not to change the proposal. No, it's just to say the same in another way. So would you rather? Okay, could be. But the second, no change the option. Okay, so another way to say it. Anybody else? Another way to say it? Of the ones that we were using. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. You have different ways. Okay, we're gonna do this one later, but would you, could you, can be, right? Do you think sounds the same and good if we say, could you go to the cinema with me? Could you go? Would you go without like? Would you go to the cinema? Do you think sounds good? Would you mind going to the cinema? Is that good in that situation? No, right? I don't think it's a good idea, because would you mind going to the cinema? It's like, ¿te molesto si vamos? No, right? Because that's the equivalent indirectly to would you mind? ¿Te molesto? Si tal cosa, ¿te importaría? So that's what I ask you for another ways to say it. Can be, would you go? Would you rather go? But would you mind going? I think in this situation is not good. Maybe here, right? Would you mind eating something? Maybe. Because maybe you don't want to do it because you feel full, because you're not hungry. So maybe here. Or would you like to eat something? Would you eat something with me? Okay. You see, what I wanted you to see is that sometimes we have the option to use all of them, but sometimes no. sometimes it's better not to use some of them. Okay, well, if you don't have any question, let's continue. This is one member of the group. Look, this is one member of the group. Here we have another. You see in this conversation? I can't believe it. Robert is addicted to his phone. Did you see him? You're right. He should not chat in a meeting. Absolutely. That is not polite. He should answer his messages after the meetings. And we should not talk about him. That's not polite either. Agree? We should help him instead. Here we have another member of the group. Would, could, and should. In this conversation, you can see that we have negatives and we have affirmatives. Of course, that we can use for interrogatives too. But in this case, the use is different. In this case, should implies a suggestion, not a request. That's a big difference, right? That use, even though it's part of the family of could, would, but could and would are similar because you ask something, you have a request, but should is more a suggestion, not a request. So that's why we said here, right? He should not chat in a meeting. He should not. So it's an idea, it's a suggestion for him. And we should not talk about him. It's like a reflection, right? No, we should not, we shouldn't. We shouldn't talk about him. But the common point is with could that we use the verb in the base form, not like with mine that we use the verb with ing. In this case, you can see should help, should answer. So the verb goes immediately next to the should. No to, no ing, no changes, like in could. And that's the
Teacher.
difference. Yes.
Should is recommendation. Recomendar.
Yeah,
Es como que le estoy recomendando que...
correct. We can say that is a recommendation
Okay.
or a suggestion. Yeah, it's like in that level, right? In that level of recommendation, of suggestion. Okay. Anytime.
Teacher, I don't hear you.
Your
Okay,
microphone,
maybe
teacher.
now? Okay, thanks, Miss Marlene. Okay, so in this case, well, I don't know if you could listen the first part that I said. What was the last that you listened? No? Well, I didn't want to repeat everything. But if you don't remember the last part that I listened, well, I hope that you listened the previous parts. But I was telling you that in this case, we have like all the forms in English. We always have with auxiliary, with modals, we have contracted forms. So the pronunciation for this is shouldn't. Okay, so you're right. He shouldn't shout in a meeting. Or he should not shout in a meeting. But in this case, like most of the time, it's better to use the contracted forms. Okay, shouldn't. So he shouldn't shout in a meeting. Okay, same here, right? And we shouldn't talk. We shouldn't talk about him. Should. And the pronunciation is the same. We don't pronounce L. Like in would, we don't pronounce the L. Like in could, we don't pronounce the L. Well, in should, we don't pronounce the L. As I said, they are family. So would, could, and should. Okay. Okay, we're gonna practice this conversation 3 minutes because it's short. So I'm gonna read it again. I can't believe it. Remember, try to join when it's possible. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Believe it. Robert is addicted. Do you remember the ED pronunciation? The verb ends in T. So, addicted to his phone. Did you see him? You're right. He shouldn't or he should not. Sharin, you can say Sharin. Sharina, and even you can use the other, join the other. Sharina meeting. Sharina meeting. Or Sharin a meeting. Or Sharina meeting. Absolutely. That is not polite. Again, we can join. That is not polite. He should answer his messages after the meetings. And we should not talk. We don't pronounce the L here. Talk. And we should not talk about him. That's not polite either. Agree? We should help him instead. Another situation with the pronunciation. When you have a vowel after could, should, or would, it's like we have an R here. Okay? L always disappears, right? But in this case, we're gonna make the sound of the D like an R when you have a word with a vowel after should, would, or could. For example, in this case, you can say, he should answer. He should answer. He should answer his messages after. He should answer. In this case, no, right? Because we don't have a vowel sound. So should help. Should and help. But in this case, yes. So when you have you after could, would, or should, join. Could you, would you, Should you? When you have a vowel, make the D like an R and join it. Should answer, could answer, would answer. Okay? That's with pronunciation because it is important, right? That we don't know just the use of these modals, when to use them, how to use them, but the pronunciation too. Get familiar with the different possibilities of pronunciation that we have. Okay, so let's go to practice that. Gonna create pairs. You're gonna be working in pairs. So don't forget to apply that pronunciation, please. Join when it's possible. And help your classmates, please. If you know how to join, if you already knew, or if you catch the idea, help your classmate if he or she needs it.
Miss, and the conversation, the Raúl definite either, the pronounce is either.
Either, yes.
Okay.
Well, some people say neither and either, but that's more British. Yeah, you can listen and there is the possibility with neither and either, but it's more British. The most
Thanks.
common in US and in Canada is either and neither, but it exists, neither and either. Okay, well, but it's better either and neither.
Either.
Yeah, because we are not in Europe, right? If you are in Europe, it's good. It's like if you speak like Spanish, like Spain, right? It doesn't, and you are not from Spain, doesn't sound natural, but it's possible. Okay, so here we go. We'll have one group of 2 and one group of 3. So take turns to practice, please. Okay. So now I got some situations for you. And you gonna give some advices. Okay, you're gonna give some advices. So let me show you these situations. Okay, choose a number. Let's start with Miss Escalante. Choose a number, Miss Escalante.
Number 2.
Okay.
She'd like to go with me. Sería would.
Okay, would she like to come with me? Okay. Miss Rodriguez, choose a number, please.
7. She shouldn't be smoking.
She shouldn't, yeah, because it's a suggestion, right? It's a recommendation, correct. Mr. Ramirez, choose a number.
4.
4.
4.
Okay.
I would like a cold syrup, please.
Okay, would.
Good.
Yeah, cough syrup. Okay, correct. Because it's not a suggestion, right? So make no sense if we just should. Okay, let me see who else. Marlene.
Okay.
What number?
Number 1.
Ill is sick, right? When you have fever, headache, that is ill or sick.
Shouldn't be outside.
Shouldn't.
Okay, shouldn't. She shouldn't be outside. It's a suggestion, right? And who else? Giancarlo. Are you around, Giancarlo? No around.
Miss.
Okay, which number?
8.
You look sick.
You look sick.
You should go.
You should go to the doctor.
Okay, you should, right? It's a suggestion. You would go, make no sense, right? Irías al doctor, so make no sense. Okay, you see? So that's the different way that we can use automatically would or should, even without thinking. Now that we know, we don't think. He, what?
Should.
Should. She should be resting. It's going too hard, right? It's going too hard yourself.
Put on a banner.
Should.
Should.
Good.
Good.
Okay, would you go to the hospital? It's a possibility, right? Because some people sometimes don't want to go to the hospital, so it's a possibility. Would you go to the hospital? If I take you, if I pay the bill, would you go to the hospital? So it's a possibility because of the structure. Well, could be a suggestion too, right? But it wouldn't be a question. Should you go to the deberías ir? No, right? So is would you?
Or not.
Shouldn't?
Children.
No.
Good.
Well, time is over. Okay, but you see, most of them, there you are, right? Correct. Most of them. Okay, so that's the way that we work with these situations.
Well,
Okay, I'm gonna give you some problems and you're gonna try to think about the solutions. Give me a second. Okay, in this case are problems, right? You have to be wise and give solutions using, in this case, I think the best is to use should. Let's see what are the problems. Now let's start with Giancarlo. Choose one number, please.
5, coach.
Okay, this is the problem. I want to save money to buy a new laptop. How should I save the money?
Well, day and day, I have to say $1, $1 or
No, give me a suggestion. It's for me.
so
Yeah, I'm asking you. This is my problem. I'm asking you for tell me directly your advice.
you should $100 per month.
Okay, you should save, I guess. You should save?
Yes.
Okay.
$100
Per month. Per month.
Per month.
Okay. Well, but how can I save $100 per month? What should I do?
I say for my work. Oh, I didn't, coach.
No, tell me. I need to save. Okay, that's part of your advice. I need to save $100 per month. But tell me, please, how can I do it? How can I save $100?
For example, if you go out every weekend, you don't go out.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't go out every weekend.
Okay, that's a specific advice. Okay, so I shouldn't go out every weekend. Yes, you're right. You're right, because every time that we go out, we spend money, right? So I could save that money instead of spend it. So I shouldn't go out. Okay, there we are. That's the idea, the suggestion. So remember that that's why we are using shouldn't, Giancarlo.
Okay, Miss. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to you for your advice, for your participation. Ms. Ramirez, can you choose a number, please? Excuse me, please. Go ahead, Ms. Ramirez.
Okay, number 2.
Excuse me, era Miss Rodriguez, entonces, sorry. But tell me, Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Ramirez. Okay, tell me, Mr. Ramirez.
Me entonces. Okay, 2, number 2.
I like to get a new phone. What phone should I buy?
What phone? I didn't adjust.
What's your recommendation? Remember, it's a recommendation.
Was you?
It's a recommendation, not a suggestion. I mean, a recommendation or a suggestion, right? Not, yeah.
I could.
No, you, because you are telling me, that's my problem.
Okay. Could you buy Samsung? Samsung?
No, so
No.
it would be, Mr. Ramirez, you should buy, because it's your suggestion for me, right? It's not a question. Could you buy a Samsung? That is a question, a possibility. And I need a recommendation.
Okay. You could you could buy a Samsung.
Okay, we can say you could buy. It's a possibility too. But 100%, the word that we use 100% to give suggestion is should. But it's possible to say you could, but in that case, it's more a possibility than a suggestion. Okay? So remember that. That's the difference. I think it's Miss Rodriguez. Let me see, because I wasn't watching your names. So, Miss Rodriguez.
Number 1.
My neighbors are really noisy at night. What should I do, Miss Rodriguez? Help me, please. I can't stand that situation anymore.
You should call the police.
Okay. but I'm gonna be in trouble with them.
Okay.
Next day.
Then you can show talk with them.
You should talk.
You should talk with them.
Okay. And what should I tell them?
Excuse me. Could you be I don't know how to say it.
What about, would you mind listening?
Listening,
Tell me.
Could you be, I don't know.
Okay, maybe the way is to be really polite, right? And so, because I don't want to get in trouble with my neighbors. They look a little bit dangerous, you know?
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Yes, a possibility. So I want to be really polite. So I can say, how about, would you mind listening to music a little bit, let's say, low? Would you mind listening to music? Okay. Or would you mind listening to music a little bit earlier? no so night,
Okay.
because you know I really have to go early in the morning, and my children need to go to school too. So please, would you
Mm.
mind?
Would you mind?
Okay.
Teacher,
Yes.
I can say, would
Can
you
I
mind?
say
Can I say, would you mind going down the noise?
going? Remember that mine, after
Going
mine we
down.
use going.
No, would you mind going or
Going.
go down the
No,
noise?
if you use mine, that is the point, Giancarlo. If you use mine, use the verb with ing. In that case, the verb is go.
Okay. Okay, sí, sorry. Would you mind going down the
Correct.
noise?
Okay.
Okay.
Could be. Would you mind going down the noise? Okay. Sounds maybe they will get angry with me because sounds, even when I'm using would you mind, but it sounds a little bit strong. But yes, okay, there we have the polite form, the polite way with would you mind. Okay, yeah, going.
Going.
Yeah,
ING for all
after
verb.
mine, always ing, correct.
Okay.
Okay, so tomorrow we're gonna have more situations. You see that when we are while speaking, maybe we forget how to say it, right? And even we are focused on that. But in the moment of speaking, we forget the most polite way, the way of a suggestion, the way of a possibility. They are simple, but maybe when we use them together, in the moment we forget it. So that's why we need always to keep in mind to practice. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna practice a little bit more with some other situations with a couple of speaking activities. Don't worry, we're gonna continue working a little bit more. Okay, so thanks for your attendance. It's been a pleasure. Hope to see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Tomorrow.
Everybody.
Take care.
Bye. You too.